Good morning, good night, good evening, everyone, and this is Wardhon 4293, and today we've got some good gameplay here for you, with my good friend Volron in the Colossus, the new Tier 8 British aircraft carrier. He's teamed up with myself and a Massey, a Tirpitz, a Bismarck, and a Mafi, a York, and a Moss. So this is going to be interesting because I get to finally see how this ship works. Because we've all heard, the reputation of it from this people on YouTube, and they're saying, "Oh, it's extremely overpowered because of the rockets." Well, remember those clips are nitpicked. They're not like a complete match. Like a segment with just deleting a ship. Like I saw one deleted from a Neptune or a Seattle, and you could tell the ship was AFK. That doesn't even count when a ship is AFK and it just deletes it off the map. That's like saying, "Oh, a battleship's too powerful because it just nukes an AFK ship off the map." And some might say, "Oh, it's strong against CVs." It's only good against the CVs that have Citadels above the waterline. Shikakus it can kill. If it doesn't have a Citadel above the waterline, the rockets don't do jack against it. He gets 3 torps and around 9,000 on it. Or 9,700, sorry. Now that it says, it's damage con, he can then go in with his bombers and set some fires. Okay, so there's already one fire on it. No fires though, but the ships are getting all the fires on, and he ain't really getting no fires, which is unfortunate. Yeah, though you can tell that the bombs really drop, really, they look really wonky, and I mean they weren't, perfect drops, but they definitely seem to have more bombs than it feels like the tech ships do. At least that's what I'm noticing. And he's scouting, so we know they're north. Now he's bringing out the big boys now. The rocket planes, which everyone knows are extremely overpowered. And after playing about 10 games with him and next to him in this carrier, I have known the rockets are very strong, but they're not overpowered. Yes, I've seen him nuke some ships off the map, but if anything, you're doing more chunk damage than you are deletion. But they are very strong. They are the main damage dealers, without a doubt. But again, they work in those right circumstances. Because look at this Myoku that he's going to go after. Damage, 12,000. That was about 11,000. 2 Citadels. And as you can tell, this carrier isn't for newbies. Let's be honest. This carrier is not for newbies. You need experience in it to really make it work. 2,400 and about 17,000 on that strike. So yes, it does nuke cruisers. But we didn't see deletions. We saw chunking damage, not complete destruction. So it's not, oh my god. But they are exceptionally strong. That's without a doubt. But you can tell by the torpedo squadrons, there's only 2 flights, and you might only get one of those off. So there's not a lot of power in the torpedoes. The rockets are its main damage dealer. So of course, you know, you would see the CV snipe the other CV off the map at the beginning of the match because it has that ability to. And that's its main damage. Like we saw him do about 10,000 to that 11,000 to that one cruiser. Remember, that is a cruiser with not as great torpedo protection. So the ship is situational, but it is a damage farmer. But that goes for every British crew carrier. They're all damage farmers. And this, honestly, feels like a damage farmer. With, well, actual usable rockets. Let's all be honest. The rockets have been nerfed. So to actually have a decent carrier with rockets is worth it. Now see, he overshoots that one. So, that's unfortunate. But you see, you can't just use the rockets continuously. You have to alter your squadrons around. There's no question you can't. You can solely use rockets. But it's a carrier that has its weaknesses, let's be honest. This carrier has its weaknesses. Let's look at its plane reserves. 11 torps, 14 bombers, and 14 rockets. That's not a lot of, well, planes. And it relies solely on being able to have good plane management. That is the key to this carrier, is good plane management. And Volron is a great CV player. He knows what he's doing. Gets 3 torps on that. It takes him about 10,000. So he basically nukes that DD's health off. But he's going for key targets. He does nuke that one off because someone hits it. And boom, the DDs are gone. He's up to 83,000. But look at the Citadels. Yes, the rockets make up a good about half that damage. But you have to basically combine your strikes together to really maximize this carrier. It's not as overpowered as you would think. Especially for operations, it's highly dependent on cruiser maps. And against battleships, I've seen it do some damage, but not a lot of damage. Now we know it's going to be in J1's evac point because the CV's turning south. So that's just without a given. Now he is going to go after the Aoba because, let's face it, someone needs to go after the Aoba. He goes about around 10,000 right there. Now that thing is angled to him. And you see that once you have a slight angle, you just see how the rockets break and overpin. Again, like the Germans, they need to be perfectly broadside. They can be a little bit angled, but against that kind of angle you saw the Aoba, it don't work really well. Now let's watch it on a broadside shot, okay? See, that was perfectly broadside. That was around 20,000 damage. But that was perfectly broadside. Again, not overpowered. And I'm lucky we did have that there, because we could have lost that one objective. But you see, it's not totally overpowered. It's not... The damage is honestly average. If anything, the Chocoloff is more powerful than this. Because at least this thing actually has to be drop its torps within range. Because these are only 2.4 kilometer torp range. That's... Your torps have to be within arming distance. Well within the AA of even short range AA to even launch. So you've got a massive damage. And even the bombers are, you know, average. These are... British carriers excel at farming over a long period of time. And we're going to watch what he does to the Shokaku. Like, okay, it's at 24,000. $16 rocket hits. No Citadel, but they're all solid pins for 10,000. Again, those rocket snipes only work on carriers that have a Citadel above the waterline. Implacable, Hornet, Lexington, Kaga. All those carriers that have at least a decent waterline Citadel. This thing nukes. Colossus itself. If it has a waterline Citadel, it's a dead CV to Colossus. If it's something that doesn't, Colossus really can't do much against it. It's going to be a damage farming match. There isn't... You know, this whole need for being, like, concerned. Like, just... Honestly, just, you know, being like, oh my god, it's the end of the world. After watching this and seeing the gameplay on an actually decent game, I'm not convinced it's an overpowered carrier. Average at best.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer.
I mean, it's an average carrier, let's be honest. Kaga, Enterprise, Chocolov. If anything, those carriers are 10 times more powerful than this carrier. And I love how people complain about the rockets on this. Anyone that's been around for a long time remembers OG Enterprises rockets that could just nuke destroyers off the map with 2 passes. Again, this thing needs to use its torps, and torps can be easy to dodge in a CV, in a DD versus CV. And you look at the arming time on those bombs. It's not the best, let's be honest. And they're only dropping like 18, like 6 bombs a plane, so like 18 bombs. And remember, these bombs can ricochet, they can bounce all over, they can do whatever. It's not like, oh my god. That really hurt. That was unfortunate. But I mean, you see, he's up to 180,000, and it's a good carrier. I'm going to give it a good carrier approval. I like it. I think it's a good carrier. But the British need a decent carrier. Let's be honest. Indomitable, you know, it's mediocre. Now look, you see against battleships, it only did like 8,000 damage with these torps. And I will include his build on this video, like, so we can actually see it. And against rockets, you saw, yeah, it does do good against planes with about 10,000. Around 14k. He just picked up that kill. He's at 201,000. That's a good match for a carrier. But again, remember, there was a lot of damage farming in alpha strikes from those rockets. It's honestly a very balanced carrier. It's not totally overpowered from where I'm standing. If anything, I think I would put it in a league. I put it in a league with Kaga. It's good, but it has weaknesses. It's only if the player base knows how to handle those weaknesses. Okay, 50,000. And 20,000. 5 Citadels. Again, basically Broadside cruisers have to be Broadside just for this thing to nuke them. So, it's not like, oh my god, the end of the world, okay? It's not the end of the world. Again, another Broadside. Has to be perfectly Broadside, okay? 15 Citadels, 250,000 damage. It's a really good carrier. The British need a very good carrier. But you have to know... and you can angle against these rockets. Remember, AP rockets can be angled against, like AP shells. These don't have improved auto bounce angles, okay? And he's done a very beautiful job of plane management. He can still launch strikes. But that is, if you hit any good AA, these planes will just fall apart. Remember that. It's a good carrier, but it's not a Kaga where it can just pump out planes. This requires, well, like Saipan, it requires a CV brain. If you don't have a CV brain and can't manage the Saipan, then I wouldn't recommend the Colossus. Because it's basically a little bit easier Saipan that hits harder, but it still gets punished. So, if you don't know how to play carriers, Kaga and Chokolov would be my go-to carriers for you. But you need a brain to use this carrier, let's be honest. Its full potential. But a very good display of the Colossus with 250,000 damage. So very great match.